Tonight, Saints legend Nicky Winmar's bombshell racism claim against the AFL. Developing news, the season opener in doubt. Meteorologist Jane Bunn reveals when tropical cyclone Alfred will hit Brisbane. The hunt for a firebug who torched a historic South Melbourne church. A wicked night at the Oscars as a Hollywood upset steals the spotlight. Also, the Geelong schoolgirl who invented a global board game. And counting down the AFL's best players, Kane Corns' controversial list.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now.
Good evening. St Kilda legend Nicky Winmar is launching bombshell legal action against the AFL as he fights to join a racism class action. More than 3 decades after his powerful stand at Victoria Park, Winmar is set to become the lead plaintiff in the case against the league.
It's one of the most powerful images in AFL history. Nicky Winmar standing defiantly and pointing proudly at his skin after being racially abused. Now, 32 years on, the Indigenous sporting hero is taking a new stand.
Nicky Winmar has been a trailblazer throughout time. He really stands to fight to eradicate racial vilification in the game and make it a safer place for all football players.
Winmar plans to go head-to-head with the league by joining a racism class action lawsuit as a co-lead plaintiff.
Mr Winmar suffered prolonged racial vilification in the workplace, and this certainly culminated in that famous moment that was photographed in 1993.
The action was brought by North Melbourne great Phil Cracker in 2023. It alleges the AFL failed to enforce and implement rules and policies to prohibit racial vilification, and also failed to provide a culturally safe environment.
He's been left with the mental scars of that racial vilification in circumstances where he was unable to walk away as he was in the workplace.
As an Indigenous AFL player who experienced racial vilification between 1975 and 2023, Winmar had automatically become a member of this class action when it launched. It's now up to his lawyers and a court to decide whether he'll take on a bigger role as a co-lead plaintiff. The AFL hit back, claiming Margaret lawyers continue to regularly change their claims, and the league has long supported Nicky Winmar's stance against racism. The matter returns to court next month. Estelle Greepink, 7 News.
Meanwhile, the AFL could decide as early as tomorrow to postpone Thursday's season opener. Eyebrows have been raised over the league's wait-and-see approach as a tropical cyclone bears down on Brisbane.
Tropical cyclone Alfred's potential path has narrowed and Brisbane is right in the firing line.
The likelihood of a cyclone crossing the Queensland coast has increased.
Queensland southeast bracing for impact. A weather event not seen in the state for 50 years, set to make landfall on Thursday or Friday.
We're prepping for loss of power. We've had the house wired up to take a generator. Just talking to the guys inside, they just sold 17 generators, so I think people are understanding maybe what's going on.
Panic buying is already underway.
People have been hoarding.
But the AFL is remaining calm, pressing ahead with plans to open the season at the Gabba Thursday night.
The Lions are working towards that, as are Geelong and as are the AFL and Channel 7.
I've spoken to the CEO of the Lions. We'll give them the information, and Lions and the AFL will be able to make an informed decision. We'll give them that, and there's plenty of time.
Snaked by the Brisbane River, the Gabba is on flood watch with up to 600 millimetres of rain possible. But the 130 km/h winds pose the biggest threat. The AFL prepared to wait until game day to make a call.
I think it'll be very much one of those things where it's an absolute last-minute decision if it would be to, potentially postpone the game.
I'm mindful that both teams have a bye on the same round in a few weeks' time, so that might be something that goes into their consideration.
But time is of the essence for travelling Cats fans.
We all take annual leave and whatnot to be able to head away and watch the Cats, and so even work was sort of saying, I may still be here, I may not be.
The Gold Coast is also at risk. The Suns host Essendon on Saturday. Jared Witts played in Cairns in 2018 as tropical cyclone Nora approached.
We were umming and ahhing about 20 minutes whether we were going to play or not.
And Chief Football reporter Mitch Cleary is at AFL House tonight. Mitch, concern is growing the opening game will need to be postponed.
Well, Peter, the AFL have given themselves as long as they possibly can, but clubs want answers by tomorrow, considering some Geelong players will fly up in the afternoon. The league, though, will hold a commission meeting in the morning ahead of the season launch in Sydney. If they do pull the pin on opening round on Thursday night at the Gabba, the Lions are angling to have the game moved later this month to round 3, where both the Lions and the Cats currently have the bye. The prospect of having the game moved here to Victoria has all but been ruled out. Peter?
Mitch Cleary at Docklands, thank you. And meteorologist Jane Bunn joins us now. Jane, you have your own brand new modelling.
Mitch, the guidance has firmed up significantly over the past hour on this cyclone. The modelling is finally aligning to have Alfred crossing the coast late on Thursday night or in the early hours of Friday morning. The path is firming up as between Maroochydore on the Sunshine Coast and Brisbane. There is a lot more confidence in this situation than there was just a few hours ago. East Coast cyclones do the most damage just to their south, so that puts Brisbane in the firing line for both torrential rain and destructive winds. So that's now all models showing the same thing, and that's a dangerous situation in Brisbane on Thursday night, Mitch.
OK, thank you very much, Jane. One of two bikies who shot dead an innocent Melbourne dad has had his request for an appeal rejected. Aaron Ong is currently serving 35 years for murder after father of two, Paul Vergona, was killed while driving to work on Eastlink in 2019. Mr Vergona's wife and mother expressed relief outside court, but say they've both been dealt a life sentence of grief. Arson detectives have been called in to investigate a suspicious fire that's ripped through a church in South Melbourne. Police suspect the blaze was deliberately lit. With locals furious, the heritage-listed building has been allowed to decay.
An old house of worship goes up in flames.
Oh, that's sad. It is really sad.
Towering over neighbouring homes, residents prepared to evacuate.
I'm going to go and get my passport and everything.
Yeah, it was pretty full on.
I think it's very, very sad.
Thick smoke smothered South Melbourne around 8:30 during the morning's peak hour commute. A warning was issued to the community.
No reports of any person affected by smoke or any injuries to either the public or firefighters.
The blaze began in rooms at the rear of the historic building. Firefighters fought from above to gain control, containing it to the church. The Park Street site is now a crime scene. Police are investigating if it was deliberately lit. Recently, the church has been sitting idle. Locals say it's become a hub for squatters. Firefighters found bedding and clothing inside.
Of course, the homelessness that have moved in because there's nowhere else to go.
The church is heritage listed, owned by a developer who has big plans for the site.
We have been asking for a response from the Gurner development people.
They provided one to 7 News, saying there have been multiple attempts to fortify the church and work with authorities. Building surveyors will decide what happens from here. Rory Campbell, 7 News.
The pilot of a Qantas plane has sent out an emergency signal as smoke filled the cockpit just minutes after takeoff. Passengers were kept in the dark until they were back safely on the tarmac at Sydney Airport.
Just 20 minutes after it left Sydney, a flight bound for Perth is welcomed back by firefighters.
The airfield response just underway down there.
I woke up to panic. She was like, we're having an emergency landing, no one knows what's going on.
QF 643 was due to leave Sydney at 8:20. It departed late, then ran into trouble at 13,000 feet.
And Qantas 643, pan, as advised, require immediate return to Sydney. Smoke on the flight deck.
They rapidly dropped altitude, did a right-hand turn, and then there was slight vibrations in the cockpit, and then came in for a really fast, hard landing.
Qantas has confirmed that smoke was detected in the cockpit of the 737, but passengers weren't told until they were back on the ground.
I think they did a smart thing. They didn't inform anybody in the plane what is happening.
and we just find out from the windows that we are going back to Sydney.
The greens went off, so yeah, and then the captain later said that he couldn't converse with, so the air hostess just walking up and down telling people to stay in the seats because there was no communication between the cockpit.
Qantas has told 7 News that no Mayday was declared. Instead, the pilot contacted air traffic control saying the flight needed immediate support before landing back in Sydney safely. Passengers eventually left for Perth on a new aircraft. Jodie Lee, 7 News.
The Chinese vessels circumnavigating Australia are tonight drawing nearer to another capital city. At the most recent update, the task force was 550 kilometres southeast of Perth. They're being monitored by HMAS vessels Stuart and Warramunga.
I have every faith in our Australian Defence Force to make sure they get that done.
Frankly, our Prime Minister's scared at the moment. He doesn't know what to do.
Anthony Albanese insists Australia is responding in an appropriate way. Volodymyr Zelensky has been given the royal treatment, warmly welcomed by King Charles. The Ukrainian president remains hopeful of peace and believes he can salvage his relationship with Donald Trump.
In a trip rich in symbolism, another powerful image. A president lifted from London and flown to a king's country house. His Majesty warmly receiving Volodymyr Zelensky, not at a palace, but his private Sandringham estate. It ended a day when Europe wrapped its arms around the wartime president. At a London summit, one by one, leaders embraced Zelensky before turning to business.
This is a once-in-a-generation moment for the security of Europe.
They agreed Europe must do the heavy lifting of a peace deal with the UK and France to take the lead instead of the US. Also committing to more military aid for Ukraine, giving Kyiv a say in peace talks, boosting Ukraine's defence capabilities to deter future invasion, and if a peace is reached, putting European boots on the ground.
A coalition of the willing to defend a deal in Ukraine and to guarantee the peace.
An idea with support.
They are fighting for the international rule of law.
Canada will be there and is open to doing what is necessary.
With each meeting these world leaders have held, the situation has felt increasingly more grim for Ukraine. And while these countries continue to profess their unwavering support, they must be questioning, would it be enough without the backing of the United States? Do you feel like you've been abandoned by the United States?
Yeah, I think so.
But getting the two back to the table, a giant diplomatic ask. In London, Joel Dry, 7 News.
Back home, the future of a popular music festival in the state's northwest has just been decided. Cassie Zervos has the breaking news, and Cassie Council has given the event the go-ahead.
Well, Mitch, it comes after a community fight for the 5-day festival to go ahead in the Victorian town of Donald this long weekend. Just moments ago, councillors agreed to approve the permit after hearing from local traders and the organiser. So the esoteric festival will go ahead as planned, starting on Thursday and wrapping up on Sunday. It's well known for the music, art and craft and the family-friendly area. Last year, 250 people at the festival fell sick from a gastro outbreak, which caused concerns for this year's festival. In response, a petition was launched to help organisers plead their case. It attracted more than 11,000 signatures. Now, more than 7,000 people are expected to descend on the regional town for the almost sold-out event. Mitch.
Cassie Zervos, thank you. It's shaping up as a showpiece election pledge, but there are claims tonight Anthony Albanese's plan for urgent care clinics needs urgent attention. The bulk of the clinics are heading to battleground seats, and it's sent political fists flying.
Losing patience over where to treat patients.
They're going to get out the colour-coded spreadsheet.
There's no question that Labor's pork barrelling. Have a look at the map as to where these clinics have gone.
That map shows them distributed across the nation, but many and must-win marginal seats. As the leaders accuse each other of a political stitch-up, doctors worry about whether there'll be enough of them to do the real stitching.
We can set up these urgent care centres, but they can't be at the expense of general practice and using our limited financial resources as well as our workforce.
The government promising $644 million to build 50 more Medicare urgent care clinics, the coalition agreeing to 4, but reserving the right to review the placement of the rest, and both sides promising to fund the training of more doctors and more nurses. The clinics are designed to take pressure off hospital emergency departments. The doctors warn they could take business away from local GPs.
We sort of feel that there's unnecessary duplication sometimes where new centres are set up near existing practices.
87 have been opened since the last election. The new promise would take that to 137.
They're working. We know that people are going to them out of hours. We know weekends. We know kids have been taken there.
But one of my staff members took their son to the urgent care clinic in Tamworth only recently and it was shut.
A prescription for an election fight. Mark Riley, 7 News.
Australians have missed out at the Academy Awards with an independent film taking out the top honour. Anora claimed 5 Oscars, including Best Actress, in a shock result for favourite Demi Moore.
A show-stopping performance to open Hollywood's biggest night. The stars of Wicked bringing the magic of Oz to the Oscars stage. Conan O'Brien hosting for the first time, poking fun at celebs.
Adam, what are you wearing?
The award of the night went to
Anora.
Taking home Best Picture, the independent comedy about a stripper who marries the son of a Russian oligarch, cleaning up with 5 awards.
If you're trying to make independent films, please keep doing it. We need more. This is proof.
In the biggest surprise of the night, the film star Mikey Madison won Best Actress.
Thank you to my incredible family.
Hot favourite Demi Moore trying to mask her disappointment, while Adrian Brody scored his 2nd Oscar for Best Actor in The Brutalist.
I'm wrapping up. I will wrap up. Please turn the music off. I've done this before.
One of the year's most popular films,
Wicked,
only winning 2 awards, but arguably the biggest honour of the night for those who played no role in a movie at all.
Thank you to our Greater Los Angeles firefighters.
Our hearts go out to all of those who have lost their homes.
The Oscars red carpet is where you'll find the who's who of Hollywood. Tonight marks the end of a long award season, and in true show business style, they've saved the best for last.
In film, there's no higher honour than an Oscar, but sadly it wasn't to be Australia's night, missing out on cinematography and visual effects awards, and
I love this photo.
A long way from Ramsay Street, Guy Pearce beaten out for Best Supporting Actor for his role in The Brutalist.
Nothing quite like this, so this feels pretty special.
The curtain down on another award season in Hollywood.
And Miley Hogan joins us now from Hollywood. Miley, the winners are off to the after parties.
Yeah, well, as the saying goes, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. The official Oscars after party, the Governor's Ball, has now finished. That's where the winners go to get their statue engraved. But it is that time of night for the outfit change, where you see the celebs lose the black tie and put on a more party-appropriate outfit. We've already seen Kim Kardashian, Paris Hilton and Selena Gomez at the Vanity Fair after party. And at the very popular Elton John after party, singer Chappell Roan has already taken to the stage to perform. It is getting late here now, but it does feel as if the party is only just beginning.
Miley Hogan in Hollywood, thank you. Beck Maddern's here now with a look ahead to sport. And Beck, there's an injury scare at the Magpies.
Yes, Pete. Good evening to you. One star was sent for scans today. We'll tell you how he's tracking shortly. Plus the chances of Jordan De Goey and Braden Maynard facing the Giants. Also, the Bombers plan to combat Cyclone Alfred ahead of their trip to the Gold Coast. And Kane Corns joins us with his top 50 players of the competition. We're down actually to number 10. He's coming up very soon.
OK, we'll see you then. Thank you, Beck. Thousands of Victoria's public servants are facing the sack and they're furious with the Premier. Details are next on 7 News. Also ahead, how an evil son could walk free in just a few years despite killing his mother in her Maribyrnong home. March madness as fashion, footy and Formula One take over Melbourne. And later, an Australian-grown breakthrough for ovarian cancer. Also how this young Geelong girl is taking over the toy world. An evil son who killed his elderly mother in her own kitchen will serve as little as 5 years in jail. Gordon Ivankovic was today sentenced to a maximum of 8 years behind bars for killing his 81-year-old mother in Maribyrnong in June 2023. He accepted a deal to plead guilty to manslaughter after being told how many years he'd most likely serve. Ivankovic's heartbroken sister was in court to hear the sentence handed down. The swing against the Allen government could go from bad to worse, with furious public servants threatening to target Labor seats ahead of the state election. The union claims it was never told thousands of jobs were on the line before the Treasurer wielded the axe.
The Allen government threatened to cut public servants. Now angry workers have a threat of their own.
And if they are not prepared to take these job cuts off the table, then we will target every seat of every MP.
Workers' rights are under attack. What do we do? Teachers, nurses, firefighters all taking aim outside a state government meeting against plans to slash 3,000 public sector jobs. Are you going to win?
Yeah! These are important workers. They make sure that the services we all rely on get delivered and get delivered well.
The public sector union isn't satisfied despite assurances frontline workers will be safe. They want consultants axed instead.
It's $1 billion they spend on consultants rather than employing public servants.
We have a laser-like focus, as I think Victorians would expect us to have.
The government has to answer exactly where they are cutting.
The Premier also defended her plan to put high-risk teenage criminals in classrooms, maintaining it would give offenders a chance to rehabilitate.
We do acknowledge there is some concerns with schools. No final decisions have been made on how that final part of the education program is taking shape.
Rochelle Brown, 7 News.
There are welcome signs from the Vatican, with Pope Francis remaining in a stable condition for the second day in a row. Catholic faithful held out hope he'd be able to deliver his weekly prayer from his hospital bed, but he wasn't quite well enough, instead releasing a written version. In it, he thanked God for giving him the opportunity to share in body and spirit the condition of so many sick and suffering people. Record-breaking crowds are expected to descend on Melbourne for our busiest month of the year. A mega march of events has something for everyone, from family-friendly activities to long lunches and adrenaline-pumping sport.
Fashion, footy, Flemington and F1. Mad March is here, Melbourne's most action-packed month of the year.
It's like a beating heart of Australia. It's always something exciting happening in Melbourne.
Celebrity chef Miguel Maestre will swap his whites for a tailored suit, walking the runway at the Melbourne Fashion Festival. Its vibrant forecourt opening tonight ahead of a packed program.
You can come and you can watch, but also everything on the runway is available to buy.
Moomba is back this long weekend with a full schedule after extreme heat forced the cancellation of last year's parade.
We'll have over 1.3 million people at the Moomba next weekend, the biggest free family festival in Australia.
For hotels, it's the week of the Grand Prix that helps break occupancy records as tens of thousands of interstate and overseas visitors descend on Albert Park. Today, fans of Melbourne's own Oscar Piastri got excited with a surprise merchandise drop around the city.
Up first, if you're a Melbourne local, you'll know this place very well.
We've also got two mega pop stars, Billie Eilish and Dua Lipa, performing here this month. There's the International Flower and Garden Show, the Comedy Festival and the Food and Wine Festival still to come.
The economic impact of the major events calendar is something like $3 billion to the Victorian economy, so March is a big part of that.
Bethan Yeoman, 7 News.
A Melbourne council has devised a highly controversial plan to tackle the homeless crisis and clean up their streets. That's next on 7 News. Also ahead, rock star Peter Garrett under fire for taunting Australia's richest person. Selfies in space as a private commercial craft touches down on the moon. And Melbourne musician Vance Joy joins the brave fight against Alzheimer's disease. The city of Port Phillip is under fire over its plan to fine homeless people from sleeping on the council's roads, streets and land. The idea came about to help tackle rising crime rates.
I think the decision by the city of Port Phillip lacks compassion. It lacks compassion for our most vulnerable Victorians. What leads to an individual being homeless comes with the most complex set of circumstances.
Council officers are investigating the potential change to local laws. Rock star turned politician Peter Garrett has been slammed for sowing seeds of hatred with a taunt aimed at mining magnate Gina Rinehart. Garrett also sledged gas giant Woodside and US President Donald Trump.
Peter Garrett has never been one to shy away from a political statement. Friday night in Perth was no different.
And people shy away from using coloured and emotional terms like fascistics or Nazis or whatever it might be, but that's what we're seeing.
Those comments directed at US President Donald Trump and Aussie mining magnate Gina Rinehart. The Midnight Oil frontman sinking his teeth in further, urging concert-goers to pretend they're dancing on Gina Rinehart's grave.
To couch his views in the way that he did, which was essentially about sowing hatred in our community, is not on.
He was expressing a sentiment that many, many Australians feel about the grotesque power and influence that the fossil fuel industry and Gina Rinehart have over policy.
A spokesperson for Gina Rinehart called Peter Garrett an attention-seeking activist who tried to trash Mrs Rinehart in front of thousands of people, but instead he ended up trashing himself. Cassidy Moscone, 7 News.
A US company has successfully touched down on the moon, marking only the second private mission to achieve that milestone and the first to do it upright. Its first images captured the rocky lunar surface. The second was a selfie from space with a spectacular view of Earth in the background. The mission is part of a partnership with NASA, ultimately aimed at returning astronauts to the moon. Melbourne music superstar Vance Joy is singing a different tune this week, throwing his support behind a groundbreaking treatment for Alzheimer's. The singer has met with scientists to help them raise enough money to put the discovery to the test.
When Vance Joy sings, the world listens. His smash hit Riptide went platinum 16 times, putting him in the same league as Taylor Swift, who is also a fan. If you're gonna stay. But this week, the Melbourne singer is stepping off the stage and into the lab, throwing his support behind a groundbreaking clinical trial into Alzheimer's treatment at the Bionics Institute.
Actually personalise it to each person as well.
In my family, I think there might be a genetic leaning towards dementia.
This machine has been used for years to treat patients with depression, but researchers have noticed it also improves memory.
Transcranial magnetic stimulation is a non-invasive form of brain stimulation.
The magnetic pulses are painless and cause brain cells to fire.
When we do that over and over again, we can induce lasting changes in brain activity.
Daryl Tabor is among the first to try it as a treatment for his dementia.
The ability to get his words out and think more clearly.
If the clinical trial is successful, it's hoped treatment will enable patients to live independently for longer and enjoy more quality time with family and friends.
Getting their brain connecting and working well, that's exciting.
Researchers hope to raise $200,000 and recruit 130 new patients for a 12-week trial. Christy Mayer, 7 News.
A driver has been rushed to hospital after a freight train collision west of Geelong. We'll have the latest next on 7 News. Also ahead, an Australian-grown breakthrough to tackle ovarian cancer. The Tony Award-winning musical on its way to Melbourne. And straight after sport, tiny testers put this year's hottest toys under the microscope. There's been a major emergency response west of Geelong after a freight train collided with a car just after 3 this afternoon. The driver of the white Peugeot was rushed to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The train driver escaped uninjured. A world-first breakthrough could change the way doctors fight ovarian cancer. Australian scientists are leading the charge, identifying then targeting the potentially deadly cells.
Mother of 3, Olivia Curtis, was diagnosed with ovarian cancer during COVID. The tumour they removed was the size of a newborn baby.
What I had was essentially an octopus that was all through my insides.
But that was just the beginning. After 6 months and several rounds of chemotherapy, the cancer came back.
We get our hopes up and then spot fires start appearing. And then we started having to look at, well, we have to do further surgery.
Ovarian cancer is a silent killer, with more than 75% of cases diagnosed at an advanced stage. Even after treatment, in the majority of women, the cancer comes back and is more aggressive. But now researchers at the Hudson Institute in Melbourne have pinpointed which cells are making the disease deadly.
The vast majority of cancer cells will respond to chemotherapy, but we've found that these leader cells are the key drivers of causing the cancer to spread.
By targeting these so-called leader cells, doctors can stop the cancer from spreading and help the immune system fight back.
This opens some really exciting opportunities to do better and to develop more targeted, more effective treatments.
For patients like Olivia, it can't come soon enough.
I feel confident. I feel like the research is going in a really great direction. And knowing that takes my breath away.
Jennifer Beshwati, 7 News.
An insight into our love of online shopping headlines tonight's Finance News with Amelia Brace.
Hello. Amazon's Australian revenue reached a record high of $7.7 billion last year, driven by huge growth in its Prime membership subscription business. Country Road has a new boss, retail veteran Helen Wright taking over the brand. A new group CEO is still being sought. And Australian Natural Therapeutics Group is considering raising cash to fund a 500% increase in cannabis production as global demand soars. On the markets, the ASX 200 rallied late to close higher, almost erasing Friday's losses. The Australian dollar failed to recoup its drop, though, buying 62.12 US cents. That will be impacted by the latest GDP data this week, with a national accounts update on Wednesday.
Tony Award-winning musical In the Heights is coming to Melbourne. Set in New York, the show tells a story of a tight-knit community on the cusp of change. In the Heights premieres at the Comedy Theatre on August the 1st. Beck's back with sport, and Beck, the spotlight's on a few stars at the Magpies.
Yes, Pete, it is injury watch at Collingwood with a fresh scare just this morning. We'll have those details for you next. Also, Sydney opens its doors for opening round with eyes on the prize ahead of the season. See how the Bombers are preparing to tackle the cyclone heading Queensland's way. Kane Corns is here to reveal his top 10 players in the competition, and Man United's season from hell continues. Welcome back. Darcy Cameron has sent a scare through the Collingwood camp ahead of their season opener with the Giants on Saturday. Xander Maguire has the details. Hi, Xander. He left the track early for a scan.
Beck, Cameron copped a knock to his hip while completing marking exercises. He dropped his head, he went straight off the ground before trudging over to Amy Park Scans for an immediate checkup. Thankfully for Pies fans, that has come back all clear. Jordan De Goey completed training today and looked in good condition, but is unlikely to face GWS while still recovering from off-season knee issues, while Braden Maynard returned to the track after missing last week's main sessions with foot soreness, and he is making a serious bid for the season opener. Footy's most prized possession on a pedestal in the harbour city as two key agents in the premiership race prepare for their first battle on Sunday afternoon.
Big game for us, and it's nice for us to, like I touched on, just to get the spotlight on us.
And there's no spotlight like what the Pies bring.
Collingwood fans, no matter where you go.
It's a rivalry that has been brewing over the past 5 years, squaring off in 2 finals and last year's season opener in that period. And there's been some off-field spice added too.
Big Mason was a big part of the rivalry, talking about the chickens in the farmhouse we have down at NG Stadium. So
Yeah, the showgrounds. I won't comment too much on it.
Cox remains sidelined with a finger injury but is likely to be available next week. Errol Goulden, on the other hand, faces a much longer stint in the injury ward after surgery on his broken ankle.
Just had surgery on Sunday and he's in better spirits. He's sort of come to terms that he's probably going to miss a fair chunk of the start of the season.
The mishap sending shockwaves through the club.
It's hard to sort of run around and not feel like you're running on eggshells a bit with the real stuff starting a week later.
Sydney play Hawthorn on Friday night, who despite injury trouble is setting the bar high.
I think anything less than finals would be a disappointment for us.
Meanwhile, back in Melbourne, Essendon began preparing for a soggy Saturday on the Gold Coast, dipping balls in water tubs to mimic the predicted torrential rain. Xana Maguire, 7 News.
Christian Petrarca says his return to footy felt like his first day back at school. The star midfielder had 33 disposals and 9 clearances against Freo last night in his first hit out since his King's birthday injury.
A lot of emotion before the game. I was a bit nervous, excited, bit of self-doubt, like, will I have an impact or whatever, but just goes back to like enjoying the game and loving what I'm doing.
The D's don't play for another 2 weeks in their season opener against the Giants at the MCG. It's been one of the most anticipated lists during the pre-season, and this year Kane Cornes has compiled his top 50 players in the competition. 50 down to 11 is on the 7 News website, so here's the start to his top 10.
So coming in at 10 is Chad Warner. Now, Warner's got the ability to absolutely rip the heart out of the opponent in just 20 minutes. He's got electric speed, and his uncanny knack of kicking running goals makes him one of the most watchable and exciting players in the league. And this time next year, who knows? He might be well and truly inside the top 3. At number 9, I've got Port Adelaide's Zach Butters. He's already their best player. He's got a stacked trophy cabinet, and he's universally admired for his courage. He's got elite speed, he wins the ball in a variety of ways, and is an exceptionally creative kick. To take his game to the next level, he should be aiming for a goal a game and just releasing those unnecessary turnovers by taking the easy option. At 8, it's Carlton's Charlie Curnow. Now, Curno's unfairly judged because of his perceived struggle in finals, but he's unquestionably a top 10 player. And over the past 3 seasons, he's kicked an extraordinary 202 goals and is the player the opposition worry most about. He's equally as dangerous outside 50 as he is deep, and watch out for a big season. The dual Brownlow medalist Lachie Neale is at number 7. He remains the cleanest player in ground level in the AFL, and he's Brisbane's best midfielder. He's adapted his game to be able to handle the taggers, which has taken him to new heights, and also his ability to push forward and kick the ball more than handball has been impactful. Patrick Cripps, I've got at number 6. The 2-time Brownlow medalist has maximised his speed and power, and there isn't a better sight than watching him burst out of congestion. He averaged over 8 clearances and 15 contested possessions in 2024, and few players deserve a premiership more than Cripps. I'll be back tomorrow night as we count down to number 1.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Kane. Cooper Connolly's been rushed into Australia's Champions Trophy squad for the injured Matt Short. The all-rounder's left-arm spin could see him get the nod over Jake Fraser-McGurk for tomorrow night's semi-final against India in Dubai.
We feel good about where we're sitting, but, the tournament really starts now. The semi-finals, even more cutthroat.
Virat Kohli fell to a screamer in India's 44-run win over New Zealand to finish the group stage unbeaten. The Kiwis play South Africa in the other semi. Manchester United's season from hell continues. Fulham ended United's FA Cup defence in the 5th round, winning 4-2 in a penalty shootout.
Zexi fails and Fulham celebrate at Old Trafford.
Brighton advanced to the quarter-finals, defeating Newcastle United 2-1 in extra time. Do you like Kane's list? Agree
Patrick
with it all?
Cripps not in the top 5.
Well, we'll have to see who's in the top 5 tomorrow night. Don't judge until we get the full list, okay?
fine.
And then we'll have a go.
We'll do it. And I don't
real
even go
go
for Carlton. Thank you very much, Beck. This year's top toy trends have been unveiled in Melbourne with an exciting new range set to hit the shelves. A panel of tiny expert judges cast their votes on what's hot as an 8-year-old girl from Geelong, that's right, 8, prepares to go global with her new board game.
There are fun times ahead this year with the toy industry's latest and greatest creations on display and put to the test.
Today we're showcasing the Product of the Year winners, so those that did well in Australia last year and also those that are predicted to do well by retailers as well as children.
The star of the show, 8-year-old inventor Mia Tarkos, launching her very own game, and she's just been crowned the world's youngest board game creator.
I was only 6 years old and I was in the garage with my dad. Me and my dad's favourite game used to be noughts and crosses until it became really boring. So I thought, why don't I make something more challenging and harder? So I made Outfox.
Now she's alongside the world's biggest names with Zipstream, the kids' top choice. It glows in the dark, bouncing into the winner's circle Ollie Ball for hours of indoor fun. Also squeezing in Dr. Squish, Arts and Crafts Product of the Year. Toy of the Year is Tony Box, the toddler speaker, a global sellout over Christmas.
What's a gruffalo?
Game Queen Mia has more in the works and hopes Outfox will become the next global sensation.
I like inventing games so I could make new ones for the world.
Jackie Quist, 7 News.
Jane's back now with the forecast, and Jane, temperatures are set to rise.
They're jumping. Mitch, tomorrow should be 10 degrees hotter than today. And on tonight's bright side, digging deep to change one boy's life. Hello again. We rise into the 30s tomorrow and will stay warm to hot for much of the outlook. Today only reached 21. It was pleasant in the afternoon sunshine. Pockets of cloud cleared southwest and central parts this morning, but a bank of that remained over central to eastern Gippsland. Other than that, it is sunny, mild in the south and warm in the north. High pressure to our west brings these milder conditions, but it jumps out to our east overnight, introducing hotter weather from tomorrow. Cyclone Alfred here is well off the coast, but is highly likely to strengthen back into a Category 2 tomorrow. Alfred is currently moving away from the coast. Tomorrow afternoon is when it shifts direction and starts to head back. The latest guidance is much more confident in where and when it'll cross the coast. Between the Sunshine Coast and Brisbane, either late Thursday night or in the early hours of Friday. This is firming up as a dangerous situation for Brisbane and much of the coastline. Here we are mild to warm with that high back over to our west today, but from tomorrow winds turn northerly. That'll spread the heat back down across Victoria. Back up to Cyclone Alfred, it'll produce a lot of rain for a large part of southeast Queensland and northeast New South Wales. For the coast later in the week with those destructive winds. Then as the leftover rain that spreads further inland. It spreads to southern New South Wales on Saturday. It may reach eastern parts of Victoria here next Sunday. Around the nation tomorrow, just a few millimetres in showers to Brisbane, nothing severe until Thursday. Sydney has a few millimetres in showers too. Hot and sunny in Adelaide, warm and partly cloudy in Perth. To Victoria, all we have is patches of morning fog in the southeast, otherwise it's sunny. Temperatures rise in light to moderate east and northeasterly winds with afternoon coastal sea breezes. Closer in, temperatures jump up tomorrow, light northeast winds before afternoon sea breezes down the coast and around the bay. There is no wet weather, we'll have sunshine all through the day. The city starts cool, but it quickly warms up, reaching 30. To the 8-day outlook, there are no more cool nights. Days are at the March average or well above for a week, and there isn't much wet weather either. On Wednesday, 33, that's ahead of an afternoon cool change. It is dry. On Thursday, some drizzly showers passing through. It is cloudy. Temperatures rapidly jump back up. Friday, Saturday, bright sunshine. On Sunday, we may see some of that rain from the cyclone, the leftovers there, but mainly eastern Victoria. Sunny top of 30 tomorrow, warm to hot for much of the outlook. Now to tonight's bright side. A 4-day project to transform a Digger's Rest backyard.
2, 3.
Oh my God.
has changed this family's life. 6-year-old Kai has a rare genetic disorder, so playing outside has always been a challenge. Until now. The team at Love It Landscaping sent the family on a getaway, while local trades got to work. Not only does the new space include a basketball court,
so here we go.
there's even space for Kai's mum to honour her late father.
If you get 5 minutes to yourself, you can just come out here and know that your dad's still nice and close to you.
I'll mention back that incredible transformation valued over $100,000 thanks to generous trades who donated their time. And just to clarify, 31 is what I'm going for tomorrow.
Okay, that's a wonderful story too, Jane. Thank you. And that's the way it is this Monday, the 3rd of March. Thanks for your company. For now, from the 7 News team, good night.
The 7 News app will give you the news you want every minute of every day, including breaking news alerts. Download the 7 News app now.